This story might sound unbelievable to most people, but it actually happened to me. I mean, when I first found out about this, I was both shocked and heartbroken. Even it came to me as a realization what happened. I mean, how could you do this to someone you've been together with for a number of years? Standing up on someone, abandoning someone at their own actual wedding day. Yes, this happened on my actual wedding day. I was 21 years old at the time, and my name is Sean, by the way. And like I said, this happened on my actual wedding day. Me and my ex-fiance, Grace, we were so happy to having getting married. But it turned out it wouldn't happen. Even despite of us, both of us have been planning this for months, but the help from both our families and friends. We have been dating since the senior year of high school. I was really happy when I asked her to marry me. We were so happy. We had even started to thinking of starting a family even a couple of years after we were married. But I had no idea why any of this even happened. Even when I was at the altar with my best friend, Richard, we were so both excited about this wedding. He even joked around like, how did you even get married before me? Which he was engaged with his girlfriend all the time, though, at the time. But as we were waiting by the altar, and all the guests was already there, including Grace's parents, we were just waiting and waiting, but suddenly the door opened, and was expecting that it would be the bride. But instead, it wasn't. It was one of our friends who actually, it was one of our mutual friends who walked up to me to inform me that Grace is not showing up. I mean, I was like, maybe she was a little bit scared. Maybe that's what she's had some accident. But she shook her head and said no, because what she meant that Grace will never show up because she left. I was shocked. And even when Richard asked what he meant, it turned out Grace had run away with a friend of mine named Justin. And everyone heard this. And both families just stood up and started being panicking. And I could even see how Grace's mother and father left the room, and they were actually left her to try to call her, but they didn't even reach out to her. And so I decided to simply cancel the wedding, and I apologized for everyone who showed up, and they, of course, they felt sympathy for me. After all, I had just been stood up by my own wedding. How could anyone even be so heartless? I mean, first of all, Grace and I had spent months in planning for our wedding, the dream wedding that she wanted. And then suddenly she stood up and ran away with one of my close friends, Justin. I was so heartbroken. Even my older brother, who was 2 years older than me, or at least 3 years older, Joseph, told me this things happens which I already knew, but I couldn't even come to realization. Even I was still in a shock. Why would Grace doing this? There were no signs of her being unhappy or anything. I mean, we were always being together. I always treat her with kindness and generosity. Even always gave her gifts. And even after when I get home to my home that I shared with Grace, well, when I got home, sure enough, all of her belongings, like some of her clothes or some of that, were all gone. She had left the house as well, and I was just heartbroken. Even though I I told my family and I just want to be left alone that day, which um, which they understood, of course. But the next day, I decided to call Grace myself. Of course, I didn't reach out to her because apparently she had blocked my number or something. I don't even know why. And I tried to reach out to Justin since I have his number, but he had done the same thing. So I was still curious. Why would she do this? And even some of our common friends, mutual friends, tried to reach out to Grace multiple times for the next several weeks, but none of them could even get in touch with Grace. In fact, no one even know where she even went. She didn't even told any of her close friends, not even her own family. And even her parents came to me to apologize about their daughter's actions, which I told them has nothing to do with them. It's just only on Grace's fault. And even Justin's family had reached out to me and told me that they couldn't even believe it that my ex-fiancée would run off with their son. They had no idea what was even happening because they were good parents. So for the next several weeks and even up to almost 2 months after the wedding, I was still clueless of any idea. I mean, I tried to get reach out to both Justin and Grace for a few times even after this, but eventually I just stopped since I couldn't even reach out to them, and I even was, well, heartbroken still, and I barely did anything at all. I mean, I was at home most of the time. I went to work, I went home, and even sometimes when one of my family or some of my friends asked me to hang out, but I always said I wasn't up for it. I mean, I was just want to be left alone. But one day, Richard, my best friend, who was my best man at the wedding, well, supposed to be in the wedding, he walked into my home one evening and he just told me, dude, you're coming with me right now. Uh, what? And this was on the weekend, like on Saturday. You and me, we're heading out to the bar right now. No question to say it, no one is. This is my treat. And since he's paying for this, so I was like, why not? So I went with him, and it was probably the best thing to do. After all, have been almost completely shut off myself from the whole world after that particular event happened. And at the wedding, we were just talking about our what we have been up to lately, and of course the topic of the wedding came up, which I mostly would even avoid after as a topic, but then he told me that he couldn't believe what Grace did. Even when we were in high school, she showed no signs of anything. I mean, I told him, if Grace was unhappy with something, she could have just told me. And if she wanted to break up, she could have just told me about it. He agreed, like, yeah, I agreed on that part. I mean, if she wasn't willing to marry you, she could just simply told you. Yeah. I mean, as a reasonable, any respectable person would. I cannot understand that myself, I told him. I mean, we were so happy, we planned for months, every detail. I wanted her to have her dream wedding as she told me when we start dating. And even after when I got engaged with her, she started telling me how she wanted to have her wedding, and I started like, well, we can try to make it possible and of course within a budget. But I don't even know what went wrong there, I said. He shook his head and said, there might be something that maybe she was never intended to get married you. What do you mean? Have you ever thought of maybe that she was cheating on you the whole time with Justin? I mean, maybe not in high school, but after since you became engaged or something. Have you did you notice of any difference change in her behavior, or if she get home late, or if she went out for somewhere? Not unusually, no. I mean, I was at work and she texted me, and I did know that she sometimes hang out with Justin and some of our friends, but nothing at all. But there were a few times that she did end up came home late, but not often. Maybe just once or twice a month or so? Did she go on long trips with someone? No, I don't know. I mean, I did give her a lot of free time that she wanted to do. And why you all this by asking? Well, I mean, it's possible that she could have been cheating on you with Justin the whole time. Even the time that before you even get engaged. But just speculation on that part from my end, said Richard. I was considering that he might be true on that. After all, I didn't have any idea. I even said, well, you mean that's possible, but I even had stopped trying to even reach out to either her or Justin. Even though I really deserve to get any answers to why this happened. That's true. So, have you thought of even trying to hire someone or something? Well, I mean, it's possible I could, but I don't even have the money for it. I will help you with that. Wait, seriously? Definitely. So, we decided to hire this private detective to find out why this happened, and like most of the few questions like why or and where she went, since neither of her family or her friends or even me have been able to reach out to her, not her or Justin. So during the time when the private detective tried to reach out, track down both Justin and, well, Grace, at least one thing we all know. They have both escaped town. So we don't know if they're still in the state or if they have moved to a completely different state or even left the country all. But at least they didn't leave the country because they didn't have any passports. At least as far as I know at least, but they later find out they didn't. So that part was not that. But during the time when the private detective was looking after tracking down, Richard had told me I should probably start hanging out with some other friends, just trying to heal my heartbroken heart. And I started hanging out with another friend of mine named Lucy. She was actually one of my close friends from high school. And she was actually also a former friend of Grace. She couldn't even believe herself that Grace just simply just did that on the actual wedding day. But even though back in high school I thought that Lucy was beautiful, but it was when I decided to ask Grace out. But one night when me and Lucy were out for just having a dinner together, just as friends, we talked about our time from high school, and I admitted that I did have some feelings for her, but since she was a close friend, I didn't want to make it awkward between us. I mean, like to ruin our friendship. So I never told her. And since Grace wasn't actually a close friend of mine from the start, we something just she was more like an acquaintance. And then Lucy told me something that was most shocking. Turned out she was even in love with me back in high school too. And I was speechless. But she told me that even though that now that I know about it, and it hasn't even been long after my supposed wedding took place, but she said she was willing to give me a chance for dating if I wanted to. I said I would give her thought about it. So 2 days later, I called her up and said, "Yeah, why not? At least we can try." I mean, I we didn't know if we were still much had the same feelings anymore. So after our first date, we felt why not continue to be dating for a short while. So we continued to be dating for a couple of weeks. And then, around the same time when we decided to make it official, the private detective actually came back to me with a result. Turned out, he managed to track down Grace and Justin. Well, shocking enough, they did in fact go to a different state, and they even got married in a small wedding. And the reason why? She didn't love me anymore. And that she didn't love me, and Justin was the one that actually did cheating on her just even before we got engaged. I even asked her when I managed to meet her and him face to face after this while. I asked her, why would you even do this? Like, if you didn't want to be with me anymore, you could have just told me, and we could have just could have called off the engagement even before going so far as to be an actual wedding. She was scared how I will take it. I mean, she knows I'm a reasonable person, and she knows that I wouldn't freak out. I mean, of course, I wouldn't ask the man to ask why, but I wouldn't be in such, well, a violent person. But Justin said, you will force her to stay in the engagement anyways. How would you know that? And I know, and I said, no, I'm not the person that forced anyone to stay in a relationship, and you know that, Justin. Because I was in a game, even before I even dated Grace. I had a few girlfriends back in high school. And of course, none of them was never forced to be in any relationship. And one one of them did say tell me that they want to break up. Sure, I took it hard, but it is done to different respect. Grace told me that she apologized and felt sorry for what she did. In fact, she did love me. And I did say to her, what made you stop falling in love with me? I gave all the attention that you wanted. I gave all the freedom you wanted to do on your own. And she said that she loved that time. She loved to spend time with me, but her heart started suddenly to fill for Justin. He was more adventurous than I was. I mean, I told her if she wanted to try something new, go out somewhere traveling or hiking, I was always willing to do. And she said she did want to ask me that, but since I have my work and planning for the wedding, it took a lot of time. So I told her for last time I wasn't mad. I mean, I was upsetting from the beginning, but over time, since I tried to reach out to her at least to get to an explanation. But now I told her it's in the past. And since you and Justin are already married, I didn't want to cause any problem in your marriage. And in fact, Justin, and he was like, yeah. Well, congratulations to your wedding and, of course, or to your marriage. And all I want you to have the best wishes in your life. Oh, thanks. I told him, even though all this happened, I didn't know if we would remain friends or not. But I will let the time to tell if we would still remain as friends in the future. He understood, of course, and since he was more reasonable person, and I told him, you know, at least you could have told me. I would have understand, but seeing how your parents reacted, Grace, they tried to call you, but you didn't ever answer. Even your friends and even I tried, and we were we were stunned. We tried to reach out to you for quite a while, but since we never even been able to reach out to you, we feared the worst. Like if you had left the country or if you were in an accident, since no one knew when you were. And since there were no updates on your social medias, so we had no idea where you were. But now at least we know you're safe and happy with someone you really love. I just I just want us to move on. I just want you to be happy, to one that you love the most. Sometimes I did wonder how our life would have been if we did get married and I mean assuming if we did get married, you probably would still have been cheating with Justin. And that would have made our marriage even harder. So I feel probably happy that our wedding didn't happen. But you could at least have been told me about it way earlier before even actually on the wedding day. It made it awkward for not only me but for everyone. All the guests have been invited, our friends and families. She understood and started crying, but I said, that's in the past now. At least be happy with that someone to treat you well. After that, we said our goodbyes and then we left. I did tell my family about this, and they were shocked that I was so calm. But they understand. My dad was like, "You are a grown man, and you took it very, very much as a grown man." I thanked him. I told my new girlfriend Lucy about this, of course, and things it was a little bit awkward. Lucy later get in touch with Grace, and they reconciled their difference of all this. And well, I mean, from what I heard from Grace's family, well, I'm still friends with her sister and brother. And let's say her family, especially her parents, was so pissed off at Grace. They were considering to disown her from the will, but I told them it wasn't even really worth it. If she really loves someone, I have forgave her. Just give it time. And eventually they did. And even though there were a lot of awkward and a lot of yelling between Grace and her family, or at least his parents. But when they find out that only some time after that Grace was pregnant, and it was a baby girl, they changed their minds and accepted Justin as part of the family. And I was happy to know that. And about 2 years later, me and Lucy actually got married. And now we have twin daughters named Eleanor and Jane. I was, you know, the day when she told me that she was pregnant, I was happy. I was like, I'm so happy to know that we're having a baby. Um, Babies, you mean? What? She said that she was having twins. And she even showed me an ultrasound. I was over the moon. And when I told my family this, they were all so excited. And my brother was like, Sean, you will have a lot of time to take care of this. I was like, well, Joseph, you go be an uncle to twin girls, so you probably will have a lot of things to be yourself. And like, yep, I know. Even after being stand up at my own wedding day, I was heartbroken for quite a while afterwards. But if it wasn't for my friends and family to be there as a big support, I was happy. And eventually I did meet my future wife, Lucy, and now having two beautiful daughters together, I couldn't wish for anything better. And as a bonus to this, yes, me and Grace and Justin are friends again. And I mean, it might still be a little bit awkward at first, but we're close friends again though. And their daughter, she is a friend of my daughter's, and I just hope that we will put this much awkward event in the past behind us and move forward to the future. And even though at first it was a bit awkward, but now, so yeah, this is the story how I stood up for my own wedding day, but eventually found my true love and have a much happy life. So thank you for all for listening to the story. Thank you.